Feel like calorie restriction that cuts you down to 500 calories a day is too extreme for you, or that it would throw you back into that 80s diet mentality you had. There is a lot of confusion about intermittent fasting, and I've fielded more than a few questions since my intermittent fasting and exercise masterclass recently. No matter when you're listening to this, however, intermittent fasting isn't going anywhere. So listen in, take a short walk with me, and let me clear up a couple of things. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and your concerns and really seek to inspire you about right now and your future. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindset about what to eat and how to move. So you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in the second and better half. And by the way, this episode, like the masterclass that I gave in February, so very recently, is sponsored by FitU. FitU is for you if you're a midlife babe who has 20 or more pounds to lose, or you're close to that, because losing 20 is very different than losing 5. And losing weight, specifically fat weight, in midlife is very different than it was earlier or than it is for your male counterpart. I have done all the research and rounded it up and poured it into this one class. And one thing I want you to know about me is that I'm not going to give you just a superficial, here's the exercise program, here's what you need to do and do it. Here's the food plan and do it. Although you get both of those in the program, you and I are co-collaborating, number one, on the nutrition piece, because you've got to get into it, buy into it. You need to do some food prep, and you even need to use the recipes I do give you to do some planning on your own, because for the rest of your life, you're going to be doing that. So if you haven't been, it's time we start. But you'll also get mindset support. So if you don't change what's going on between your ears, below the shoulders will not matter. Temporarily changing your activity level, temporarily changing your nutrition plan isn't going to work. It's got to be a long-term strategic plan that involves a lot of thought change. And we start with that. It'll be in your inbox every week, right along with your exercises. So I'm going to link to that Fit You program right now in the show notes. But here's what you need to know. You don't have long to go. This doors are open right now, not just to Fit You, but to Fit You at 50% off the usual enrollment rate, plus 2 big bonuses to help you be more successful easier. The first is the Metabolism Makeover course designed for women in menopause. I opened that up last April. And if you remember, we were at the start of the pandemic and I almost pulled it. And everyone said, no, 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 we need this now more than ever. We're in lockdown. We're at home. We're close to the kitchen. We're not moving. Gyms are closed. And it's sold out. And it's a value of $6.99. But you get it for free by enrolling now. The second piece is about intermittent fasting. It's a hot topic and it's not for everybody, but I'll do 2 things. First, help you decide, is it for you? Or second, where do I start? In an easy step-by-step. And I'm going to get you started on those steps right here in this episode. So I will dive in to all things calorie restriction isn't necessary for you to start intermittent fasting right now. So you need to read that right. Starting intermittent fasting, you do not need to diet. In fact, calorie restriction with your intermittent fasting may backfire for you, midlife woman, especially if you're an active one. In a recent masterclass, I shared components of intermittent fasting styles, if you will. There were 6 of them. Calorie restriction is one of them. But to begin intermittent fasting and see and feel results, you don't have to, and actually, I would say you don't want to use all 6 components. My friend and colleague, Trisha Nelson, she's founder of Heal Your Hunger. She's no stranger to Flipping 50 podcast. And in our members area, there's even an expert interview because many of us are emotional eaters. She's an emotional eating expert. She and I agree on this. There are a lot of us whose dysfunctional, disordered eating will be triggered by fasting that is restrictive. And that said, the word restricted is used frequently in the same sentence with intermittent fasting. So you have to be careful in deciding, is it for you? Is it for you right now? And what does your eating schedule look like now? What's your activity level right now? What is your objective for starting intermittent fasting? And where's the best place to start with your intermittent fasting? And that I'm going to answer for you. You also want to acknowledge, what is intermittent fasting not? It's not a quick weight loss fix. It's not an escape from bloating, digestive issues, or no appetite or feelings of fullness. Those things should all be dealt with prior to you starting intermittent fasting. And if you do have a history of anorexia, bulimia, exercise addiction, compulsive overeating, or binge purge eating, then intermittent fasting may not now or ever be a good idea for you. But if it is a good next step, then here's 3 baby steps about how to start intermittent fasting. So, number 1, are you snacking? Stop. So even fasting between meals, between breakfast and lunch and your dinner can help you dial up use of fat stores. But if you are snacking incessantly, grazing from this to that to the other thing, you give your body no reason whatsoever to dip into your stored fat and use that for energy. Number 2, are you eating dinner late and having breakfast early? Even or, I might say, late dinner or having breakfast early. You want to spread those out. So think about, how could you eat dinner slightly earlier? Or how could you eat breakfast slightly later and yet don't skip it? Number 3, are you confusing drinking liquids as fasting when in reality both artificial sweeteners and cream in your coffee offer a change in blood sugar levels and insulin that essentially breaks a fast? So although it's true that anything that has calories will break your fast, so too will artificial sweeteners, and cream in your sugar does have calories. So that one's an easier one to see coming. I'm going to give you a 4th baby step bonus, and that is, make sure that your first meal is high protein. It will set you up for success all day long. In a recent study, one that I shared in that very recent masterclass I did, just moving the eating window, the time of day, subjects ate calories without changing the amount of calories that they ate, resulted in greater weight loss success. When subjects shifted eating to a shorter window and to an earlier window, they experienced more weight loss success without calorie restriction. This is possible for anyone. It's free. It's painless. You've got nothing to lose. You too may experience a number of fasting benefits: improved sleep, improved clarity, more stable mood and energy, and fewer cravings, just to name a few. And yes, ultimately, weight loss. but it's not necessarily going to happen rapidly for you. So if you're looking for that, you may want to look elsewhere. But if you're looking for all those I listed and even reduced inflammation, and I'm talking joint inflammation. So if you've got knee or hip pain, you may find that that arthritis actually improves with intermittent fasting. I'm going to link to Fit You in the show notes. You have a few more days. It's all over on February 28th. That's the last day to get in and get the bonuses. So you can join all the other women who are beginning right now this month, who will be going through it with you and in that private Facebook group, experiencing weekly coaching and answers to your questions whenever you've got them. All right, there you have it. A very short and hopefully very easy to clarify podcast for you this week. If you've got questions, I'd love to hear them, and you can add those either to the show notes at flipping50.com/calorie restriction, or join the Facebook group Flipping 50 Insiders, where podcast listeners, YouTube channel subscribers, and Flipping 50 TV episode fans are gathering to ask their questions, often used in a roundup for podcast or in an isolated quick minute about how to flip 50 with more energy and vitality. So I'll see you on the flip side. And again, the show notes are at flipping50.com/calorie restriction. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.